Alright, picture this. I'm standing in the doorway of my own mountain cabin, deed in one hand, toolbox in the other. Dreams of peace and pine needles in my head, when some lady in an apron I've never seen before whips around and says, "Get out now, or I'm calling the sheriff to arrest you for trespassing." Yeah, that happened. And no, I wasn't hallucinating after too much gas station coffee. This wasn't some Airbnb mix-up or a neighbor borrowing a cup of sugar. This was my property, paid in full, and there she was, flipping pancakes in my kitchen like she'd owned the place since the dawn of time. Meanwhile, bacon sizzles, coffee brews, and there's laughter upstairs. I can hear kids, her kids, not mine, bouncing around in the rooms I'd planned to gut. There are family photos all over the walls. Bikes on the porch. Little pots of herbs exactly where my workshop should be. The woman, let's call her Brenda, waves a spatula at me like it's a badge and says, "Good luck proving that up here, honey." You know that feeling when your blood boils so hot you start to see stars? That was me, standing there in a Home Depot flannel, realizing my fixer-upper retreat was now ground zero for some squatter sitcom. So let me back up a sec, because trust me, you want the whole story. I'm Jake Morrison, 34, an electrician out of Phoenix, Arizona. 3 years ago, my ex-wife took the house, the dog, and half my sanity. I was left with about 50 grand, a busted heart, and the need to vanish somewhere even lawyers wouldn't bother to look for me. I found this mountain A-frame online. 2.5 acres, estate sale, owner dead, no heirs, cobwebs thicker than curtains. But you could see the bones were solid. It was the sort of place that looked like it had stories to tell. And man, was that an understatement. I did everything by the book. Hired inspectors. Ran a title search. Escrow and all. The estate attorney was this old dude who looked like he'd been processing dead people's paperwork since the Lincoln administration, seemed totally above board. When I drove up after closing, windows down, breathing pine air, I remember thinking, finally, something that's mine. If only I knew. So, fast forward 3 months. I roll up with my truck loaded, ready for the first swing of demo day. Instead, I walk into the Kelsworth family breakfast. Brenda, queen of the HOA back in whatever suburb she got run out of, is holding court. Her husband Dale, picture a lumberjack who lost his will to live somewhere around DUI number 3, is tinkering with the water heater. Their son, Trevor, has this dead-eyed look like he's already practicing for his first mugshot. And somewhere upstairs, there's a herd of extra kids laughing and breaking stuff. I'm not even sure which ones belong to them. Maybe they breed faster in the mountains, I don't know. Now, Brenda claims, without blinking, that her Uncle Harold promised her this cabin back in '95. She's waving around a crumpled piece of notebook paper like it's the Declaration of Independence. Dale tries to play peacemaker, offering me some kind of mountain partnership. I kid you not, as if we're going to run a squatter's timeshare. I tell them, as politely as I can, that they need to leave. Brenda just laughs. "Mountain justice works different up here," she says, with that look people get when they think local legend outranks state law. Then she tells me good luck with my government papers, by which she means my actual, literal deed. I retreat to my truck, blood pressure through the roof. But these people, man, they'd already called the county, filed reports, spun their story to anyone who'd listen. I walk into the local diner, and before I can order, the owner calls me a California scammer trying to steal the Kelsworth family cabin. California? I'm from Arizona. But Brenda's already poisoned the well, telling everyone I'm some out-of-state crook forging documents to rob their ancestral home. And just to put a little whipped cream on the nightmare, their son is outside carving scammer into my tailgate. You can't make this stuff up. So what do? Well, first thing, I get served. 3 days after the breakfast brawl, a guy in a suit hands me a stack of legal papers so thick I swear it bent my wrist. Brenda's hired a bottom-feeder lawyer, Chip Rise, the kind of guy who advertises on late-night TV, claiming they have adverse possession rights, demanding $100 grand for emotional damages because I harassed them on my own property. And get this, they file for a restraining order, claiming I'm a threat to their safety. 10 days till the hearing. In the meantime, I'm banned from my own cabin. So I start digging. Thank God for my ex-brother-in-law, who once explained how squatters can actually steal your house if you let them. But the Kelsworths? They screwed up. Adverse possession here means 15 years of open, notorious occupation. They moved in 8 months ago. The owner died 18 months ago, so the place sat empty for nearly a year before their little occupation. And even better, adverse possession doesn't even start counting until probate is closed, which resets the clock to 0. So they basically sued themselves for criminal trespass. Classic. I hire Maria Santos, sharper than a razor and allergic to nonsense. She finds records showing the Kelworths never paid property taxes. I already paid mine. And get this, Brenda's Uncle Harold wasn't even related. He was the original owner's cousin, and he sold the place in 1987, years before their so-called promise letter. Maria grins and says, "They're going to get desperate. Watch your back." Turns out, she's right. I start hiking through the woods every morning, keeping my distance, just observing. That's when I notice something weird. The Kelworths don't actually live there. Every morning, Dale's truck shows up at 8 sharp. They play house all day, then pack up and leave by 4. I follow them once, to a rental in town they're 3 months behind on. They're commuting to their crime scene, like it's their job. Armed with this, Maria and I start building our counterattack. We document everything: the fake residency, the missing tax payments, the day jobs. But the Kelworths double down. Dale rips out the original fireplace and installs a monstrosity from Home Depot. Brenda starts charging hunters $20 for parking during deer season, pocketing cash. Then comes the social media blitz. My license plate all over Facebook with captions like, "Wanted, scammers stealing family land." I get calls from total strangers. Someone smashes my windshield. This isn't just trespassing, it's psychological warfare. And Brenda? She launches the Save Our Mountain Heritage campaign, complete with an eagle logo and sob stories about evil outsiders, me, destroying mountain values. She hosts a barbecue on my porch, invites everyone except me, and turns it into a community anti-Jake rally. Meanwhile, I'm hiding in the tree line, documenting it all. But here's where it gets wild. Dale's selling my oak trees as firewood on Craigslist, pocketing thousands. I catch him making deliveries, snap photos, and start building my own evidence mountain. And then, plot twist, Betty from the diner tells me the Kelworths have been bragging about collecting insurance money for storm repairs. Maria checks public records. They filed an $8,500 claim for roof damage, using a fake lease agreement with a dead man. Insurance fraud. On top of everything else. Suddenly, the pieces click. The fake residency for legal claims, timber theft for cash, insurance scams for big payouts, and social media manipulation to turn the town against me. This isn't a family trying to keep Grandma's cabin. It's a full-blown criminal enterprise. And that's when the escalation hits DEFCON 1. Trevor spray paints "scammer" in 3-foot letters on my truck. Brenda files false police reports. One even claims I threatened her at the grocery store, but I've got a time-stamped receipt from 4 hours away. They pull up my survey stakes, pour syrup on them, making them ant hotels, and cut my phone lines. It's like a low-budget horror flick. Thanksgiving rolls around, and the Kelworths invite every relative they've got. RVs, ATVs, coolers of cheap beer. My land turns into a cross between a scrapyard and a county fair. Dale starts charging family rent for camping, trying to show rental income to beef up their claim. And then comes the environmental carnage. Dale dumps used motor oil straight into the creek, destroying protected wetlands. I find his notebook. He's calculated how much money he'll make by poisoning my land, forcing a cheap sale, and cashing in insurance. These people aren't just squatters, they're environmental terrorists. But now I've got the smoking gun. I document every crime. GPS-stamped photos, videos, spreadsheets of damages. Maria nearly chokes on her coffee when I dump 2 banker boxes of evidence in her office. She says, "Jake, this isn't civil anymore. It's federal. Insurance fraud, environmental crimes, organized theft." And with every new charge, the Kelworths keep digging deeper. The turning point comes courtesy of the title company. Linda, the office manager, calls me at 7 a.m. sharp. We found something in the courthouse basement. Turns out, Uncle Harold signed a family waiver in 1987, nuking any future claims. And the insurance company? They've got proof Brenda and Dale forged a lease agreement with a corpse. Maria's background check finds Dale's got a revoked contractor's license in Nevada for, you guessed it, insurance fraud. He's on probation. Brenda owes 12 grand in unpaid HOA fines. Their rentals and foreclosure. And here's the twist. They've been using my address to apply for welfare, food stamps, medical assistance, you name it. The government takes a dim view of benefits fraud, especially with forged docs. This has gone from mountain justice to RICO territory. And the cherry on top, the EPA's investigating the creek contamination, and the cleanup will cost 85 grand with federal oversight. The Kelworths have turned the feds into my new best friends. Now, I'm running a counteroffensive worthy of a Netflix series. Hidden cameras, motion sensors, GPS trackers in my survey stakes. Every crime documented and stored in the cloud. I organize my neighbors. Frank at the hardware store refuses them service and logs every fake purchase. Betty becomes my fraud archivist. Mrs. Patterson turns the neighborhood into a surveillance grid. We're not just fighting for my cabin anymore. We're fighting for the soul of this town. And just when I think I've seen it all, the Kelworths start bribing county officials, offering deck repairs in exchange for signatures on fake petitions, and even trying to cut my internet and phone lines. But my cameras catch it all. Channel 7 News gets involved. Brenda spins her victim tale for the cameras while Dale, who never served a day in the military, claims to be a wounded vet defending his ancestral land. If Hollywood's looking for the next true crime sensation, they should just call me. But here's where karma finally swings the hammer. Trevor's girlfriend, turns out she's Betty's niece, calls me out of the blue. She says, "Jake, they're planning to burn your house down for insurance." Saturday night. I've got the texts and photos. Turns out, this family of geniuses has documented their own arson plot for the authorities. Madison sends everything to Maria, who lights up like Christmas morning. We coordinate with the feds, EPA, state police. Every acronym you can imagine. Thanksgiving morning, I roll up with a team of contractors, half of whom are undercover agents. Channel 7 is across the road. The Kelworths are mid-barbecue, 47 strong, banners and all. Dale's chopping down my last oak. Brenda's in full makeup for her victim speech. Officer Thompson steps forward. This is a federal environmental crime scene. Photos of creek contamination come out. Maria drops the deed waiver, killing their claim on live TV. The insurance investigator reveals their fraudulent claims. The arson investigator produces the gasoline cans, fingerprints, receipts, the works. Brenda melts down. Dale blames California liberals, still hasn't figured out I'm from Arizona. The feds slap cuffs on them as the whole town watches. Channel 7 catches it all. Clear water running again. Neighbors restoring what was ruined. Me finally starting the renovation I dreamed of. 6 months later, that cabin's a community nature center. The $150,000 restitution order funds creek restoration, educational trails, scholarships for local kids. Brenda gets 3 years in federal prison. Dale gets 5. Trevor joins the military as part of a plea deal. The rest of the family's banned from the county for life. Funny thing is, what started as my personal nightmare became a rallying point for everyone up here. We built something good out of the ashes. The town's safer. Environmental laws are tighter. Even Betty's Diner is booming again, now with an extra Jake's Corner for coffee and planning sessions. So here's my question to you. When someone tries to take what's yours, not just your property, but your sense of safety, your community, do you stand your ground or walk away? When is it just about the land? And when is it about standing up for what's right? Drop your stories and your take in the comments. Tell me what justice looks like where you live. And if you know someone fighting a neighbor like the Kelworths, share this. Sometimes, just knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. Trust me, I've got more stories coming.